Imagine slowly fades across 1930s America. Another morning approaches with a gentle, yet heavy, uncertainty. The Great Depression has fundamentally changed how people think about time itself. Days are no longer measured by achievements or progress, but by simple, stark endurance. Before the sun even crests the horizon, faint movements begin inside small homes scattered across towns and rural farmlands. A mother wakes quietly, moving with careful precision so as not to disturb her sleeping children. Every motion is deliberate, conserving both precious warmth and her own energy. Coal and firewood are treasures that must last as long as possible, so fires are restarted slowly, coaxed back to life from embers saved from the previous night. The kitchen air is cold. During the winter months, thin layers of frost coat the windows, a delicate, beautiful reminder of just how fragile comfort has become. Breakfast preparation begins with whatever ingredients remain. Coffee, a simple luxury, is often replaced with warm water mixed with roasted grains. Sugar has become rare, a memory from better times, and butter is carefully rationed, a tiny sliver meant to last the week. Every single meal is a lesson in adaptation. Outside, the streets gradually come to life. Men in worn coats, shoulders hunched against the chill, begin their daily pilgrimage toward rail stations or town squares. Many carry small, tidy bags containing their few personal belongings. Some will walk for miles, chasing rumors of temporary workaday on a farm, an hour unloading cargo. Anything. Freight trains clattering through towns attract desperate travelers, men and boys hoping to catch a ride to cities where employment might, just might, still exist. These journeys are fraught with danger, yet hope is a powerful engine. Movement means possibility. Meanwhile, children prepare for another school day. Their teachers understand the silent struggles their families face. Classrooms often include students who arrive hungry or bone-tired from helping their parents with household duties late into the previous evening. Despite the hardship, education continues its quiet, determined march. Books are passed down year after year, their pages soft and worn. Desks bear the marks of generations of students, all learning during their own uncertain times. And outside, on the playgrounds, laughter still rings out. Children, in their infinite wisdom, adapt more easily than adults. Their games require imagination, not expensive toys. Simple sticks, smooth stones, or just an open patch of dirt become fertile ground for entertainment and joy. The afternoon sunlight spreads gently across farms, grappling with their own set of challenges. In regions across the Midwest, the very earth seems to be in revolt. Dust storms, great black blizzards of soil, roll across the plains. The wind carries dry topsoil for vast distances, blanketing homes, crops, and roads in thick, suffocating layers of dust. Farmers watch helplessly as the land they love becomes increasingly difficult to cultivate. Nature itself has become unpredictable, another adversary in a long line of them. Still, the rhythm of daily responsibilities continues, unwavering. Animals must be fed, regardless of economic conditions. Chickens, cows, and horses remain essential lifelines for survival. The milk, the eggs, and the sheer labor provided by these animals support families when money simply cannot. In these communities, women often organize clothing exchanges. Neighbors share garments their children have outgrown. The ability to mend a tear or patch a hole becomes a valuable skill, passed between generations like a treasured family recipe. Nothing is wasted. Every object is given an extended life through patience, skill, and creativity. As afternoon slowly turns toward evening, a glimmer of hope appears for some. Government work programs, part of the national recovery effort, provide temporary relief. Roads, bridges, and public parks begin to take shape, built by the hands of men who had none. They return home physically exhausted but emotionally relieved, clutching the small wages they've earned. Dinner preparation begins once again. Soup is a common sight on the American table. It's inexpensive, it's filling, and a single pot can feed many mouths. Vegetables grown in small backyard gardens are added to stretch the meal even further. Families gather around tables illuminated by modest, dim lighting. The conversations often focus not on complaint, but on gratitude. Small victories are celebrated with heartfelt sincerity, a successful job search, a roof that no longer leaks, a child who is healthy. These small moments provide the emotional stability needed to weather these uncertain years. After dinner, the radio becomes the central gathering point, the electronic hearth of the home. Voices crackle through the speaker, broadcasting music, presidential fireside chats, or serial dramas that momentarily connect isolated communities across the nation. Listening together creates a shared experience, a feeling of comfort and unity in the quiet of the evening. Nightfall arrives again, blanketing the land in shadow. Streetlights glow dimly in the towns fortunate enough to maintain electricity. In rural areas, darkness returns swiftly after sunset, and the stars appear with a brilliant clarity over the open landscapes. Many people spend these quiet evenings in silent reflection, wondering how long this hardship will last. Yet, through it all, the routines remain steady. Beds are prepared. Blankets are layered carefully against the cold. Parents check the doors and windows before sleep, ensuring their family's safety through the long night. Fatigue comes naturally after such emotionally demanding days. Outside, the wind moves gently across empty streets. In the distance, a train whistle echoes faintly across a valley, carrying travelers toward unknown destinations and uncertain futures. And across the continent, America rests. Millions of families, tucked into their beds, share the same quiet hopes beneath the same vast night sky, the hope for stability, for opportunity, and for peace. Time continues its slow, forward march. The seasons change, and although a full recovery feels distant, a quiet resilience grows within these communities, a strength forged in the fire of shared survival. The fire in the hearth dims. The radio falls silent, breathing becomes slow and steady. And once again, the nation drifts peacefully into sleep, waiting patiently for the brighter mornings that are still yet to come. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more journeys into our shared past. Late into the night, long after most homes have fallen silent, America during the Great Depression rests beneath a calm and endless sky. Darkness feels deeper in rural towns, far from the bright lights of busy cities. Without the constant glow of electricity, night completely surrounds homes and farmland. Only faint moonlight reflects across empty roads and quiet wooden buildings, painting a scene of profound stillness. Inside one small farmhouse, a grandfather remains awake, sitting near the fading warmth of the fireplace. Sleep doesn't always come easily during difficult times. He finds himself drifting back, remembering earlier decades when work was steady and opportunities felt unlimited. Memories move slowly through his thoughts, the expansion of railroads, the growth of towns, and the years when optimism seemed as natural as breathing. Now, life requires a different virtue, patience instead of ambition. Eventually, even these reflections give way to exhaustion. The fire settles into glowing embers and a deep silence returns fully to the home. Outside, the temperature drops further as morning approaches. Frost gathers across fields waiting for spring planting. Farmers understand that their survival depends not just on economic recovery, but on the success of the harvest seasons. Nature, after all, continues its cycles, indifferent to any financial crisis. Hours pass quietly. Across the vastness of America, countless families sleep in similar conditions in modest homes, sharing rooms and preserving warmth beneath heavy blankets. Dreams offer a temporary escape from the harsh reality of the day. Some dream of employment returning, of factories reopening their gates. Others dream of something simpler, something more fundamental: stability, a life without the constant worry of tomorrow. Just before dawn, the first signs of movement begin. Milk delivery wagons roll slowly through certain neighborhoods. Patient horses, guided by drivers who repeat the same journey every morning, pull them along familiar routes. The soft clinking of glass bottles signals the start of another day. Newspapers arrive early as well, their pages filled with economic updates, political decisions, and stories of communities adapting to hardship. Headlines often carry a mix of cautious optimism and ongoing concern. People read them carefully, searching between the lines for any sign of improvement. Morning routines resume across cities and farms alike. In urban apartments, families prepare limited breakfasts while streetcars begin transporting those workers fortunate enough to still hold jobs. Factories operating at reduced capacity welcome smaller groups of employees than they did in years past. In this new reality, every single paycheck carries an immense and vital importance. In rural regions, farmers step outside to inspect their land. Here, the weather determines everything. Rain means hope, drought means fear. Tired muscles lift tools once again because stopping is simply not an option. Children assist before school, feeding the animals or gathering firewood for the stove. Responsibility becomes a normal part of life at a very early age. Meanwhile, a quiet but powerful shift is happening in communities. Relationships strengthen. Neighbors exchange assistance without any expectation of repayment. One household might share vegetables from their garden, while another offers to repair a piece of damaged equipment. In the face of shared struggle, cooperation begins to replace competition. It's a silent, unwritten pact of mutual support. Around midday, trains pass steadily through the nation's expanding rail networks. For many unemployed men, these railroads represent movement, a journey toward some possibility, however slim. Some travel west, chasing rumors of work. Others return home after unsuccessful searches, their hopes deferred. These journeys create tales of the road shared later around dinner tables and community gatherings, becoming part of the collective memory. The afternoon often brings moments of stillness. During the hot summer months, a heavy heat settles over towns, slowing the pace of activity. People rest briefly on shaded porches, conserving their energy for the responsibilities that evening will bring. Conversation flows slowly, gently. Topics remain simple and close to home weather forecasts, crop conditions, the health of family, news from distant relatives. Time itself feels stretched, unhurried. The constant urgency of the modern world has not yet arrived. In this environment, even the smallest achievements bring a profound sense of satisfaction, repairing a fence successfully, growing enough vegetables to store for the winter, saving a few precious coins. These small victories, one by one, help to restore a person's confidence and dignity. They are tangible proof of resilience. As sunlight fades again toward evening, familiar routines repeat. Laundry lines move gently in the warm wind. Children return home, their schoolbooks worn and passed down through years of use. Dinner preparations begin once more, using ingredients that have been carefully managed throughout the week. Soup bubbles slowly on the stove. Bread bakes patiently in the oven. The comforting smell spreads through the home, a signal of warmth and care despite limited resources. After eating, families gather around their radios to listen to evening broadcasts. Voices travel across the airwaves, describing national recovery programs and delivering speeches that encourage unity and perseverance. Listening together becomes a ritual, reminding individuals that they are not alone in their struggle. Across thousands of towns, millions of people hear the same words at the same time, connected by this invisible thread. And then night returns, gently blanketing the land. Street activity fades away. The lights in storefronts turn off, one by one. The nation settles once again into quiet reflection. Some families say a quiet prayer before sleep, expressing gratitude for making it through another day. Others simply rest in the shared silence of their homes. Outside, the stars remain unchanged, glittering above America's uncertain future. The wind moves across empty farmland, a low, constant whisper. A train whistle echoes faintly in the distance, a lonely but hopeful sound. And slowly, peacefully, exhaustion carries families into sleep once again. The days continue to repeat in this steady, predictable rhythm. Hardship teaches resilience, routine provides stability. And through patience, cooperation, and a quiet, unyielding determination, America moves slowly, step by step, toward recovery. The night deepens, breathing becomes calm and even. The world grows silent. And beneath the vast sky of the 1930s, another peaceful sleep begins across a nation learning how to endure. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more content. Imagine a world where one day, the bank where you saved all your money just closes its doors, forever. Your job vanishes overnight. The bustling city streets you knew are now filled with long lines of people waiting for a simple bowl of soup. This wasn't a nightmare. This was the reality for millions during the Great Depression, one of the most challenging periods in modern history. But it's not just a story of economic collapse. It's a profound story of human endurance, a testament to the strength of the human spirit when faced with unimaginable hardship. Let's journey back in time, not just to understand what happened, but to see how people survived, innovated, and ultimately overcame. It all started with a roar that turned into a whimper. The 1920s, known as the Roaring Twenties, were a time of unprecedented economic boom in America. People were optimistic, investing heavily in the stock market, often with borrowed money. It felt like the party would never end. But on October 29, 1929, a day that would be forever known as Black Tuesday, the music stopped. The stock market crashed spectacularly. In a single day, fortunes were wiped out. People who were millionaires on paper one morning were penniless by the afternoon. This wasn't just a problem for the rich, though. The crash created a domino effect that rippled through the entire economy. As panic spread, people rushed to their banks to withdraw their savings, but the banks had also invested in the stock market. They didn't have the cash. Thousands of banks failed, and with them, the life savings of ordinary families disappeared. Businesses, unable to get loans and facing a sudden drop in consumer spending, had to lay off workers. Then those businesses had to close down entirely. Unemployment skyrocketed. At its peak, nearly a quarter of the American workforce was jobless. That's 1 in every 4 people, desperately looking for work that simply didn't exist. The cities, once symbols of progress and opportunity, became landscapes of despair. Families who lost their homes built makeshift shelters out of scrap, wood, metal, and cardboard. These sprawling shanty towns, grimly nicknamed Hoovervilles after the president at the time, Herbert Hoover, sprang up on the outskirts of cities across the nation. Life in a Hooverville was brutal. There was no sanitation, no running water, and the constant threat of hunger and disease. People lined up for hours at soup kitchens and bread lines, often for their only meal of the day. The sight of well-dressed men, former executives and bankers, selling apples on street corners for a nickel became a common, heart-wrenching symbol of the era. The crisis wasn't confined to the cities. In the heartland of America, a natural disaster made a bad situation catastrophic. The Great Plains were hit by a severe drought. Years of overfarming had stripped the topsoil of its natural grasses, and when the rain stopped and the winds picked up, the soil turned to dust. Massive, dark clouds of dust, called black blizzards, swept across the plains, burying farms, homes, and even livestock. This environmental catastrophe became known as the Dust Bowl. It choked the air, making it difficult to breathe and causing a lung condition called dust pneumonia. Farming became impossible. Crops failed, and with no income, farmers couldn't pay their mortgage. Banks foreclosed on their properties, forcing countless families off the land their ancestors had farmed for generations. Packing their few belongings into rickety cars, these families, often called Okies because many came from Oklahoma, headed west. They were chasing a rumor, a dream of jobs, and a better life in California, but what they found was more hardship. They were often met with hostility, seen as unwelcome migrants competing for the few available, back-breaking agricultural jobs that paid barely enough to survive. John Steinbeck's powerful novel, The Grapes of Wrath, immortalized their difficult journey and struggle. Faced with this nationwide crisis, what did people do? How did they survive? They relied on each other. Communities pulled together in ways they never had before. Neighbors shared what little food they had. Families doubled or tripled up in small apartments to save on rent. The concept of making do or doing without became a way of life. People became incredibly resourceful. They patched up old clothes until they were more patches than fabric. They planted victory gardens in any available patch of soil to grow their own vegetables. Mothers learned to stretch a single potato or a piece of meat into a meal for the entire family, creating recipes born of necessity. Nothing was wasted. This era of hardship also sparked incredible creativity and a need for escape. Despite having very little money, people flocked to the movies. For a dime, you could escape into a glamorous world of musicals and gangster films. Radio became the centerpiece of the American home, providing free entertainment from comedy shows to serialized dramas that brought families together in the evenings. It was a shared experience that connected a nation of people who felt increasingly isolated by their struggles. Board games like Monopoly, ironically a game about acquiring wealth, became wildly popular, offering a fantasy of financial success that was impossible in reality. The government's response evolved too. Initially, President Hoover believed in rugged individualism, thinking that the economy would correct itself without government intervention. But as the crisis deepened, it became clear that this wasn't enough. In 1932, America elected a new president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who promised a New Deal for the American people. FDR's approach was completely different. He believed the government had a direct responsibility to help its citizens. In his famous inaugural address, he told the nation, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." His administration immediately launched a series of ambitious programs known as the New Deal. The goal was threefold: relief, recovery, and reform. Programs like the Civilian Conservation Corps, or CCC, put millions of young, unemployed men to work on environmental projects like planting trees and creating national parks. The Public Works Administration, or PWA, built massive infrastructure projects we still use today: bridges, dams, schools, and hospitals. These programs didn't just provide a paycheck. They restored a sense of purpose and dignity to people who had been unemployed for years. The New Deal also introduced fundamental reforms to prevent a similar disaster from happening again. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, was created to insure bank deposits, so people would never again lose their life savings if a bank failed. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, was established to regulate the stock market and prevent the reckless practices that led to the 1929 crash. These reforms created a safety net and laid the foundation for a more stable and secure American economy for decades to come. The Great Depression didn't end overnight. The economy began a slow recovery, but it was the massive industrial production required for World War II that finally pulled the United States out of the Depression for good. The war effort created millions of jobs in factories and the military, effectively ending the mass unemployment that had defined the previous decade. So when we look back at the Great Depression, what do we see? We see more than just black and white photos of breadlines and dust storms. We see a generation that faced the abyss and refused to fall. They endured poverty, hunger, and uncertainty with a resilience that is truly awe-inspiring. They learned to rely on their communities, their families, and their own ingenuity. They rediscovered the value of simple things and the strength found in helping a neighbor. The story of the Great Depression is a harsh reminder of how fragile our economic systems can be, but it's also a powerful, enduring story of survival, innovation, and the unbreakable spirit of people who, when faced with the darkest of times, found a way to carry on and build a better future. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story of endurance as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments what part of this story resonated with you the most. See you in the next video. As another season quietly unfolds across Depression-era America, life continues in patterns shaped by patience and quiet determination. Early morning mist settles gently across open farmland. Fields appear calm before the beginning of labor. Dew rests on grass untouched by footsteps, reflecting pale sunlight spreading slowly across the horizon. Farmers wake before the rest of the household. Habit guides their movements more than necessity now. Years of routine have trained bodies to rise naturally with the coming light. Boots are placed carefully onto wooden floors. Doors open slowly to avoid waking sleeping family members. Outside air feels cool and fresh, carrying the faint scent of soil and distant trees. Animals begin stirring inside barns. Cows shift gently in place while horses wait calmly for feeding. The repetitive rhythm of caring for livestock brings stability to uncertain lives. Buckets fill with milk. Hay is distributed evenly. Water troughs are checked with quiet attention. Each action repeats daily, creating familiarity that comforts both people and animals alike. Meanwhile, inside homes, kitchens gradually come alive. Wood stoves warm slowly. Simple breakfasts are prepared once again using preserved ingredients carefully managed through long months. Cornbread, potatoes, or oatmeal provide energy for another working day. Families eat together quietly. Conversation remains soft in the early hours. Energy is conserved for physical labor ahead. Children prepare for school, often walking long distances along dirt roads shared with wagons and passing neighbors. Morning greetings are brief but warm. Community relationships strengthen through repeated encounters rather than planned meetings. In towns, storefront windows display modest goods. Tailors repair clothing rather than selling new garments. Shoe repair shops remain busy, extending the life of worn footwear essential for daily travel. Resourcefulness defines survival. Bartering continues between residents. Eggs exchanged for flour, firewood traded for mechanical repairs. These informal systems maintain economic balance where money remains limited. Late morning sunlight brightens streets slowly. Streetcars operate steadily in larger cities, transporting office workers and laborers fortunate enough to maintain employment. Passengers sit quietly, often lost in thought while observing passing buildings through dusty windows. Urban life moves carefully rather than quickly. Factories operate at reduced speed. Machines produce fewer goods, yet workers remain grateful simply to participate in productive activity. The steady sound of machinery provides reassurance. Work means purpose. Purpose means hope. Afternoons bring heat during summer months. Windows open across neighborhoods, allowing air to circulate through homes lacking modern cooling systems. Curtains move gently in warm breezes. Some residents rest briefly in shaded areas, conserving strength before evening tasks begin. Children return home from school carrying lessons learned despite challenging circumstances. Homework is completed beside kitchen tables illuminated by natural light. Education represents possibility for future generations. Parents encourage learning quietly, believing improved opportunities may arrive someday. As daylight begins fading once again, farms grow peaceful. Tools are returned to storage. Animals settle for the night. Dust rises gently along roads traveled throughout the day. Evening meals prepare slowly. Large pots simmer for extended periods, maximizing flavor from minimal ingredients. Families gather once again around shared tables. Conversation turns reflective. Stories of earlier prosperity mix with cautious optimism about recovery programs expanding across the nation. Listening becomes emotional support. After dinner, some families walk briefly outdoors. Cool evening air provides relaxation after long working hours. Neighbors exchange greetings while observing sunset colors spreading across the sky. Moments of beauty remain constant despite hardship. Night approaches gradually. Lanterns glow within homes. Radios broadcast music programs offering calm melodies that drift softly through open windows into quiet streets. Music becomes escape. Escape becomes rest. Later, as households prepare for sleep, routines repeat once again, doors secured. Fires adjusted, blankets arranged carefully. Parents check on sleeping children before resting themselves. Outside, darkness deepens across fields and towns alike. Stars shine clearly above landscapes untouched by modern light pollution. Owls call from distant forests. Wind moves gently across barns and rooftops. America rests peacefully once more. Hours pass unnoticed. Dreams arrive quietly, and somewhere between exhaustion and hope, families drift into deep sleep, trusting that tomorrow will bring another opportunity to continue forward. Through repetition, strength grows silently. Through patience, recovery slowly approaches. And beneath the calm night sky of Depression-era America, life continues, steady, quiet, and enduring.